First up is a witness, a crime scene specialist. Let's get you into court.
Okay. What is State's Exhibit 69 a picture of?
So that is a photograph of the gray Lexus that was parked in the driveway.
Were you able to identify in the course of the investigation there who was driving the gray Lexus that day?
Yes, it was the victim.
Showing you State's Exhibit 70.
That was the red Mercedes that was parked in the driveway as well.
Who was driving that vehicle?
Mr. Post.
State's Exhibit 71.
That is the front side of the residence showing the windows along the front door.
72.
That is a close-up of the front door.
73.
That is a photograph of the exterior side of the front door handle.
74.
That is the gate on the right side of the residence. If you're standing facing it from the roadway, just showing the gate into the backyard area.
So is that, are you staring at Canebrake Drive there?
Yes.
Is that the red Mercedes in the driveway?
Yes.
75.
That is the photograph of the back or side door of the residence.
And at this time, had the initial deputies already gone through the house?
Yes.
76.
That is a photograph of the backyard.
And so would this be looking to the opposite side that we were just reviewing, where the driveway,
Yes.
away from the driveway?
Yes, away from the driveway.
77.
That is a photograph of you standing at that gate that we just viewed, looking at the end of the the end of the backyard.
78.
That is just showing a close-up of the creek and what you can see from the backyard.
Okay. We're going to go to State's Exhibit 80.
That is the gate on the opposite side of the house, leading into the backyard.
So that's looking into the backyard.
Yes.
81.
That is just showing another close-up of the backyard along with the second-story porch.
82.
That is a photograph of the nook that is underneath the second-story porch on the back side of the house.
Now you called it a nook.
Yes.
If I'm standing on Canebrake Drive, can I see somebody under there?
No, you cannot.
And if I'm standing, I'm going to go back to State's Exhibit 78. In the backyard there, what was the collection of houses like, I'll say, with relation to the backyard of the house?
It was
Or how close in proximity were other neighbors?
They weren't that close. They were separated by both of their own backyards, including that woodsy area and a creek.
We go to State's Exhibit 83.
So that's just another close-up of that nook area.
State's Exhibit 84.
And now we've moved out into the front yard, and that's just showing a broader photograph of that gate on the left side of the house.
So from where you're standing there, taking State's Exhibit 84, could you see into that nook there that we were just reviewing?
No, you cannot.
After reviewing the outside of the house, did you thereafter go inside the house and do the same process of taking photographs and reviewing the inside of the house?
Yes.
If I showed you those photographs, would you recognize them?
Yes.
I'm going to show defense counsel what is State's Exhibit 40, let me get this right, 30. states 38 through 62 and states 63 and 66.
All right, well, they're getting that exhibit together for the jury. This is a great time to welcome our guest for this hour, criminal defense attorney Robin Nunn. Nice to see you, Robin, on this busy day here at Court TV. All right, so we have this trial there that's playing out where it's actually a pretty gruesome crime scene, and the jury is going to be seeing more photographs. They've already seen the body camera. They're now going to be seeing more photographs of how the body was staged with the rose petals. And, you know, what are your thoughts with this trial so far?
Yeah, it's good to see you. I think this is going to be a really interesting testimony that we're going to hear here. I think that obviously we know that it was pretty gruesome, to say the least, but I think how she describes the body and the elements and the blood and what she believes occurred is going to be pretty important to determining how possibly the defendant motivation and premeditation for this murder could have taken place.
Yeah, and what are your thoughts on how this defendant, who is in custody, is presenting himself in court, suit and tie every day? We're in the state's case in chief. It's only day 2. But today he was showing emotion. He was smiling at the state's witness earlier today.
Yeah, I think that that's going to perhaps come back to haunt him a little bit. I think that defendants generally should keep a very calm and neutral demeanor. If anything, I would expect him to be showing emotion of sadness, obviously, for the death of this individual, as this was obviously someone that he knew and possibly meant something to him. I think it's going to, any sorts of smiles or grins are going to come across as disingenuous and perhaps could lead one to conclude that he had something to do with this.
Yeah, that's great analysis. And, you know, this jury still doesn't know how he fits into all of this, how he may or may not, in fact, know this victim. All right, they have the exhibit ready. Let's go back into court.
Same thing before. I'm going to go through these with you one by one and walk through the house with you. I'll show you State's Exhibit 40.
So that is a photograph of the interior side of the front door, which is in a room that I referred to in my report as the front sitting room.
The sitting room.
Yes.
Exhibit 38.
That is a close-up of the door handle to that front door, showing that it was in the locked position.
State's Exhibit 39.
So this is a photograph of the interior of that front sitting room, where you can see the victim and you can see some apparent drag marks as well.
It's Exhibit 41.
That is just a different view of the same thing, showing there are stains, apparent blood stains on the couch, as well as the pulling underneath of the couch, the drag marks, and you can see right there is one of the flower stems.
So you noted, you said drag marks.
Yes.
In this photo. Could you explain that a little bit more? how you derived that based on the pattern of the blood that is displayed in this photo?
So yes, as I referred to earlier, there's a pool of blood right there underneath of the couch. From that pool of blood, that blood being on the victim's clothing, when she was moved from that original location, it created the drag marks that you can see there on the floor. And then on top of these drag marks right here are what we refer to as drip stains. That just means that an object or person or thing that had blood on it, that blood volume dripped on top of those drag marks.
You said you identified some flowers or flower stems in this photograph. Could you show me specifically where they are? Is this what you're referring to right here?
Yes.
Okay. I'm showing you State's Exhibit 42.
So that is a close-up of the victim's right hand, mainly noting the chipped thumb fingernail, which is something that really stood out to me on scene.
Why does that stand out to you?
Broken fingernails can be a sign of a defensive, that the person tried to defend themselves. So that's what that broken fingernail kind of portrayed to me.
Are fingernails something you commonly collect in processing a murder scene?
Yes, it's standard procedure, but considering that one of them was broken, it became apparent that we would really need to focus on those fingernails.
Okay. Showing you State's Exhibit 49.
So this is another photograph of that far wall in the sitting room, again, just showing that blood pooling underneath the couch. And then in this photograph, you can also see some more of the rose petals and the leaves that are leading into the hallway.
Were you able to find the victim's phone at the scene?
Yes, the victim's phone, it's kind of hard to see, but it is right there in that blood pool.
Right here?
Yes.
Were you able to collect it?
Yes, it was collected.
Who did you subsequently give it to?
I gave it to Investigator Sparkman.
Okay. I want to bring your attention specifically to the couch.
Yes.
There. What do you notice about the accumulation of blood and what the significance of the location of the blood as it relates to the couch?
So with that blood volume being located there, we call that a pooling of blood. The coagulation of the blood tells me that that a major artery was hit, and that also that is the site of where the initial incident occurred. Along with that, you can see some disturbances in the blood there that also signifies that the couch was most likely moved after the incident.
I'll show you State's Exhibit 50.
So this is a close-up of that couch and coffee table area, showing the flower stems that were partially located underneath of that orange pillow and underneath the table. And it is also showing additional blood spatter that was caused. The location of that blood spatter, since it goes under the table, and the size and shape of those blood stains showed me that the table was also moved back into place after the incident.
Is that the victim's phone there in the bottom corner?
Yes.
I'll show you State's Exhibit 46.
So this is a close-up of those rose petals and leaves that are leading from the doorway to the sitting room from the hallway of the house.
State's Exhibit 45.
So that is the view of the sitting room from the hallway, just again showing those rose petals and leaves.
So that's the hallway looking towards the front door?
Yes.
State's Exhibit 43.
So this is a photograph of the hallway while standing in the living room, just showing how some of those flower petals go into the hallway, and also the discarded pair of sunglasses that was located in the hallway as well.
Exhibit 47.
This is a photograph from a further point in the living room, again, just showing that entryway into the sitting room and the hallway.
So inside, that is the sitting room in that room.
Correct.
Show you State's Exhibit 51.
So this is a photograph from on top of that console table sitting in the sitting room where the victim's purse had been located, and it's just showing that some of the rose petals and stems had made it onto that table.